16th meeting of the Sherburne County EDA to order.
I can see you guys now.
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
All right. First time of business, I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda for today.
So moved.
Got motion, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And next item of business, look for approval of our annual meeting from February 16th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? This is item number 4, Cargill retention visit and survey summary.
Okay, can we do a quick roll call? We got a couple new faces here. Commissioner Halls is his first.
Absolutely, I'll just go around the room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Andrew Halls, County Commissioner, District 1.
Laura King is with Arvin.
Todd Maloney. Dan Weber, Sherburne County.
Teresa Hefner, City of Big Lake.
Andy Butler, American Heritage on EDM.
Brent O'Neill, City of Elk River.
Renee Regal, City of Becker.
Jessica Brettel, Sherburne County.
Mark Schneider, Zoning Department. Josh Mullen, City of Elk River.
Jared Johnson, Cargill Big Lake.
Molly Hanson, the Y.
Ken Giroux. Thanks for all being here, and our guests, thanks for taking the time to show up. We really do appreciate it.
And I'll turn it over to Jared. We did a site visit probably about 6 weeks ago now. So he's gonna talk about a project that Cargill's working on. And then that was probably one of our first business retention visits. So he's gonna talk a little bit about that. And I don't know if you've ever been to the facility, but every portion of the facility has a different temperature. So when you do the tour, it goes from probably 35 degrees, the next room 75 degrees, and then it goes to 50. So it's a very unique facility.
Then you walk into the oven room and it's 95 degrees.
And you're head to toe covered. Obviously, it's a very sanitary environment, so the hair nets, the feet are protected. It was a very interesting tour. But I'll turn it over to you, Jared.
Okay. I suppose you're gonna make me stand up, Dan, and go over here.
Well, do you want to sit and I can operate the slides?
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, all right, presentation. There we go. So, again, as Dan said, the other thing I did want to mention too, as well, I know I talked to Ken about this before, is that in the spring too, I do have approval from my boss to bring the Sherburne County EDA to our Cargill location in Big Lake. I'm very excited about that as well. So here's a small thing. I won't go into detail because there's a ton of letters on this page. But just, again, one of our biggest focuses in Cargill is on personal safety. So, again, we recognize stakeholders who do this, and we actually had one stakeholder, Mike, here down at the bottom, who was recognized out of Cargill Protein overall. And again, we have 36,000 employees in Cargill, and he was recognized as one of the top stakeholders for focusing on personal safety. Oh, I hit the wrong button. There we go. There we go. So a little bit of background about our facility. Again, it was a greenfield facility that was built in 2002. One of the first ones that was built out in the industrial park in Big Lake. It was started as a facility that was focused on kind of entrees and a little bit of further processed, what do I want to say here, like soups and whatnot is what they did. Unfortunately, due to supply chain issues, they had problems being profitable, so it transferred over to eggs in 2005. And then we actually were a hard-cooked facility, and if you don't know what hard-cooked is, that's hard-boiled eggs. And at the time, our goal was to get to 15 to 16 million pounds. And as you can see on the slide up here right now, in this fiscal year, we're set to produce 60 million pounds of eggs. So fun question for everybody. Anybody know how many eggs come in a tanker of liquid eggs?
Oh, man.
No. Any guesses? No guesses? This is the interactive part.
500,000. 500,000.
You hit it right on the head. It's 500,000.
Yeah,
Go
you
Shelby.
the one time I
Yep, 500,000. But yeah, our facility, we currently have about 130 stakeholders. But again, as I mentioned and Dan mentioned, we are adding an additional line here in just a little bit as well too. And it's going to be a very much hands-on line. So it's going to require, depending on what automation we can get in and the timing, but another 50 to 90 stakeholders that we'll be needing. So again, the great part is a great relationship with the city of Big Lake, Sherburne County, I hope. Maybe not after this presentation. But again, looking to grow here as well, and that's scheduled roughly for January of next fiscal year. But again, it'll all be very labor dependent as well too. So again, as some of you have seen too, we do have 2 patty lines. We do have a folded egg line that services one customer. I won't mention the customers up here, but you can maybe see them on the presentation. This is just kind of a cost savings thing. This is one of the things that we focus on a lot in Cargill is working on continuous improvement. So everywhere from our bottom floor our food handlers to our superintendents and myself. This is some things that we're really focused on. You can see, like, these are items that we use to reduce cost. Everything from that's $200,000 down to $5,000. We track all of that just to make sure, again, that we're doing everything we can to save money for both us, then of course, how we impact the city of Big Lake as well too. This is a neat thing. So I'm not a social media person. I don't know if anyone else in here is. Raise your hand if you're a social media person. Oh, okay, all right, all at once, okay. But we use a thing called Beekeeper to interact with our employees. So all the employees have an opportunity to sign up with this, and we'll post everything from upcoming events to different announcements, as well as we just have one called the Big Lake Break Room, which is just made for folks to go in there and make funny comments. Work appropriate, obviously, but that it's a fun way for our folks to interact with each other. All right, in the community, you can see we do the roadside cleanup as well. There's the other ones that we support. Obviously, we're a food company, right? So our main focus is on the Big Lake Community Food Shelf as well too. And actually, I'm working on one thing right now that will give $30,000 to the Big Lake Community Food Shelf. So. Any questions? Like I said, I have a migraine, so keep the questions to a minimum. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead. Fire away.
Do you get all of the eggs locally, or from the Midwest, or how
The vast majority of our eggs come from Long Prairie.
Okay.
Yep. So a lot of Minnesota eggs. That we also get some from Howard Lake as well.
Jared, do you want to talk about the automation changes you've had in the last several years? I know it's tough to find employees right now, and your facility looks completely different than it did about 10 years ago. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of our main challenges, again, too, is labor force competition. As you know, I've sat in here and seen Premier Pontoon come in and the labor competition is very intense out there.
And we're looking at different things that we can do as well as Cargill, how we incentivize employees to make sure, not one, that we get employees in, but also how we retain them. So we've done a lot of work around that, and we're working on new projects as well. I can't go into specific detail on those ones, but it's definitely a creative work environment that we're trying to work through, so.
What does an
Mr.
level employee get paid?
Our food handlers right now are 18.15 is what they get. We also do offer a shift differential of $2 per hour if you work off shift. So that's anytime after 2 p.m. 2 p.m. to 6 a.m. you get a shift differential as well too. Now I feel like I'm advertising.
Any opportunity, Jared?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that.
Have you been able to hire workers, or has it been a struggle?
It's been a challenge. And I'll say, nice thing about Cargill, right? We have also a group that's focused on, we call it DEI, diversity and inclusion group, and we've been able to incorporate the Somali American community from. A lot of folks come from St. Cloud, but that's been a really important part of our business. And again, like we're probably about 40% of our workforce comes from there right now. But I won't say unfortunately, they do have accommodations. Our facility does use pork, and you know that's one of the things that they can't work with. So the workforce that we're going to have to look for the next 40 to 60 stakeholders will have to be able to work with pork, because that's what the product is going to be.
Does Cargill own its own production facilities like in Howard Lake and?
No, we outsource. We used to be vertically integrated, where we actually own laying hens and whatnot. In I want to say early 90s is when we chose to, you know, get away from being vertically integrated. But again, we have great relationships with our suppliers, especially right now. If you go to the store, you know, how much is a dozen eggs?
Depends on the week.
Exactly. Yeah. But, yeah, $6 for a dozen of eggs. But luckily, again, we have great relationships with our suppliers where we're grain-based is what it's called, and yeah, we get it for much cheaper than what you would go to the store for. So
the avian flu hasn't affected anything from?
It definitely has, and there's times that each, you know, our location hasn't been affected as much, but you know, some of our other locations, such as Michigan, has had some challenges with getting supply as well too. So it's definitely a problem.
How many other similar plants does Cargill have that's like the same as Big Lake? I know you guys are really diversified into a lot of different things, so do you have other plants that are set up similar to Big Lakes throughout the country, or is this the primary source for these products?
No, we have 4 egg locations. 4 egg locations, yep. We have Mason City, Iowa, Monticello, Minnesota, Big Lake, and then Lake Odessa, Michigan.
And you have a testing facility in Elk River, right?
That's animal nutrition. Yep. So I don't know a whole lot about that. So if you're gonna ask me questions about that, like I said, no more questions, please. But yeah, we have, and the Animal Nutrition Center is actually even going through a renovation. I don't know if you've seen that out there as well too, but they're investing more money in that facility as well too. And I've gotten the opportunity to go up on the roof of the Feed Animal Nutrition Center in Big Lake, and I can tell you, I am terrified of heights. He's like, hey, let me show you the hawk box out here. I'm like, what's a hawk box? And I'm like, it's like a box where we make it for hawks to go to, so they stay away from the facility. And I'm like,
Oh, interesting.
I'm like, I'm good. I'll stand here. So anyway,
Any other questions for Jared?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Madam Commissioner.
not as many questions, but I just want to acknowledge that, having watched Cargill come in and grow and, become a part of the community and what they do to give back, they are definitely, a top-notch company, because it's important when they do come into a community that they become engaged and part of it, and they do that extremely well. And I can't say enough about Jared and his involvement in the community as well. So thank you so much for being a part of the Big Lake community. And as I always remind him, there's extra land out there by you. My goal is to get Monticello's location transferred over here. They got to get out of downtown Monticello.
Mark, did you have a question?
Yeah, it just was on your stakeholders, retention. So, that's one of the challenges that we hear about. And I got to go do the tour, and Jared, appreciate it. That was really eye-opening what was going on there. You start seeing millions upon millions of eggs produced at, for the places where we might frequent. So it was really neat opportunity. So, yeah, appreciate that chance to go walk through this facility. But retention of employees, getting employees coming in. So you have a need for, was it 50, 60 new stakeholders? So do you have high rates of retention of those employees, or is there large turnover?
there is now, I mean, traditionally, when I first started, we were running about 10 to 15% turnover, and now it's up around 30. So it's quite a big increase from what we've seen in the workforce. Unfortunately, it's a lot of folks who start and then within 30 days are like, okay, no, I don't want to, like this is what, I don't want to say this is what they signed up for, but it's just, like they're like, I didn't know about this environment. Same thing, we talked about temperature differentials in there, Dan did earlier, but it's very difficult with new employees to retain them. So that's been our biggest challenge as well too. So I mean, we do everything to try to engage them with different meetings and whatnot, but that's definitely one of our biggest challenges, the retention of new employees.
Is childcare an issue?
It is, and actually Cargill does, and I'm involved in this as well too. We do have an initiative to work on childcare as well. And it's not just childcare as well too, it's just overall care, because some folks have elderly folks who need care as well too, or anybody else that, but we're working on that as well too, so that is definitely another compounding issue.
We'll talk more, okay.
And Jared, you had indicated at, I think, our last meeting that transportation was an issue for employees as well. And you had indicated you guys were working on some ideas and ways to possibly assist with those needs.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Rayanne, my best answer that I can give to you is we're still working on those ideas.
Okay,
But
it would be nice to try to incorporate possibly TRICAP into that thought process, because they are located out of St. Cloud. Maybe that would be something that we could help facilitate or reach out on and see what they can do to possibly be a part of that solution. And I know affordable housing is also an issue for workforce.
Yep, and that was one thing that we talked about, I think in our last EDA meeting, right, is one of the challenges, that affordable housing and getting folks into the area as well too, so.
All right,
One more quick question.
sure, you bet.
The automation that you do you do that in-house, or do you contract out for that?
For the automation, we purchase that from external suppliers, so actually one of our biggest suppliers, I don't know if I can mention their name or not, but they're based out of Alexandria, Minnesota, so.
Anybody else? Well, thanks, Jared, thanks for powering through that. You, know, so thank you. Brings us to the business retention program update, Miss Jessica. Buckle up, everybody.
All right, so I'm just gonna do a quick economic development update just for these first couple months of '23 and even the end of '22. Just some things that we've been up to. There we go. All right, so I'm going to cover a couple different things today. I'll start with business retention and expansion. So as you all know, that's going to be an area of focus for the EDA and just kind of where we're at in that process. After doing quite a bit of research, I know we've talked a little bit about this, Executive Pulse would be the software that I would highly recommend moving forward with. It's a customer relationship management software that's developed by economic developers for government, economic, and workforce development professionals. I did facilitate a demo with actually the people in this room here, Josh, Brent, Therese, and Renee, and Stacy from Princeton, and we all went through this demo together because the idea or the vision that I had for this program, or have for this program, is that this is going to be a collaborative effort to the degree that they're able to participate across the county. In addition to that, I also started Sherburne County Connect meetings, and the second one will actually be following this meeting. This is intended to support the economic development across the county, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then as far as Sherburne County is concerned, we did finalize our business retention and expansion survey, which will be able to be inputted right into the Executive Pulse software. And then I have done several BR&E visits with Therese. Therese has been great about scheduling them and then inviting me to them across the county. And then we've had a few that have happened organically. And I'm super excited that I'm going to get to go to McDonald's Meats next week. They're expanding in Clear Lake. And so I reached out to them and I get to go there next week. Who's in that EDA district? Greta. And you, Laura, too? Both? Okay. So I'll send you guys an invite for that. I think it's going to be on the 21st, March 21st, but I'm waiting for a confirmation on that back from them. So Executive Pulse, I'll just give you a high-level overview of that software, and then I do have the full, for those that may be interested, the full proposal for technology and related support services sitting over here. So the capabilities of this software is really unique. It's going to allow us to segment our reporting from the geography and industry, et cetera. Customizable technology to meet our needs, so we'll really be able to develop and build this program to suit what we're trying to accomplish in Sherburne County. It's very widely used across the nation, offers 24/7 tech support, and there isn't any additional hardware or software that we would need to purchase, as it's a fully cloud-based system. So this is little up there, sorry about that. Key features, so we're able to segment, as far as maintaining some level of confidentiality across, cities, townships, and certain areas. The way that this software works is it allows us all to have our own login and access. And so if Renee wants to log a BR&E visit or look at any that I've done, or she talks to a business in town and wants to log in, when she logs in, she's going to get the city of Becker. And that's gonna be what she sees only, and that will be the same across all of the different cities, townships. And then I will be able to view and access everything. So we're able to segment there. And when we build this software, we're able to essentially set a parameter around Sherburne County, and then it will use Google Maps to automatically autofill and populate all the businesses within the county, and it pulls all the Google information and it creates business profiles for us right out of the gate. So right away, we have all the information that Google has in one single place. And then as we visit those businesses and learn more about them, we're able to build their profile within our system. It's a very customizable system, so each city, township, and then Sherburne too will be able to upload their logos, write reports from the data that's in there that'll be branded for the city of Elk River, city of Becker, Big Lake, and all that, for reporting back to their boards. There are nearly limitless user-defined queries and different numbers of reports that we can run. So we'll be able to take the data from the business retention and expansion surveys and turn that into usable data or usable reports. So one of the things that I was struggling with that I was talking to Dan about is if we want to launch a business retention and expansion program, and currently the method is to use a paper survey, we can all go out and do these paper surveys, and they're anywhere from 3 to 5 to I've seen 17 pages long. How are you able to effectively go through that data and identify trends or identify issues when you have a stack of papers on my desk and a stack of papers on Renee's and Josh's and Teresa's, and I just pointed at Brent and said Josh, but whatever. Whatever. So I really wanted to be able to make, like, we're not just going out and conducting visits, but I want to be able to make the data that we're collecting useful, and so that we can actually do something with it. We're able to tag each other. So if Josh is out in the community and talks to somebody and they want to hear from Jessica or someone at Sherburne County, he's able to go into that business profile and just put a note in there and it will notify me. And we can do that for a lot of different things. It also creates a timeline on each business. So anytime there's an interaction, whether it's an email, a phone call, or say I want to put something in there like remind me in 6 months from now to call this person, it can all do that. And it logs every interaction in the timeline. And then we could also even run reports saying, you know, tell me everybody that I haven't heard from in the manufacturing industry in the last year. And it will let us know that. File management, so we're able to upload any different files or documents, our paper surveys, unless we went fully mobile with this, but there's a lot of to iron out. We'll be able to upload that into this system and then input our data into the survey. So we'd still get the report. That was really confusing. Let me rephrase what I just said. I don't know if we would be taking our computers and iPads or whatever out with us and immediately on time or real time entering the survey data in, or if we'd still be doing our paper surveys, coming back to our desk and then entering that data in. We don't have that figured out yet.
That's how we do it when I've gone, yeah, it's just, like you said, you're trying to not, keep the business moving along because you're there already for an hour. So we go back and fill it out after.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see, I think I covered pretty much everything else on that slide. The cost for this program, so the initial build out of this program, and which would include the development, the customization, they set our parameters, all the things that we talked about, and then the first year annuity fee, which is just the operation hosting fee and all that, is $10,000. So the EDA does have a budget of just over $48,000 that's allocated towards technical services. It wasn't really allocated towards anything specifically for 2023, but that's something that we're trying to work on in our strategic plan moving forward so that we can actually tie dollars to real projects or certain things and accomplish more.
We'd probably use our federal funds to pay the $10,000 and the $2,000 would be built into our budget each year.
Yeah. So there isn't an impact to the EDA budget that is not already there. There's already dollars set aside for that. And then there would be an annual $2,000 fee to maintain that, and that would be covered by the county fully, and then the cities and townships would have access to that as well. Again, this is small. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Is there any questions about that software?
Yeah, real quick. So most CRM packages that I'm familiar with also have opportunity tracking. So for example, it's how you fill a sales funnel, right? You have multiple opportunities, you track those through to whether they fall off because the opportunity is not there any longer or somebody makes a purchase. I would think it would, does this software have similar capability? Because I could foresee that being a good function for looking at opportunities for businesses to expand. That would be an opportunity, business to do a greenfield site, come into the county, et cetera. You can track those like an opportunity and then track actions associated with, what's going on with that opportunity as it moves down the decision pipeline. Does the software have that capability?
So I could ask, I know that there are several different modules that can be added onto this software, and I was really mainly interested in learning about the business retention and expansion. I would say when I'm thinking of the expansion piece of it, if that's something we picked up on during a visit, that would be something we would follow through our timeline. But as far as like a new business coming or a potential new, like you're talking about, being able to put that in and then follow that through. I don't know if that would be a separate module or if that's something we can incorporate in BRNE, but I can ask.
Yeah, let's just ask the question.
Okay. Any others? Okay. So the other thing that I was talking about is the Sherburne County Connect meetings. And I am so excited about this. And these guys here know this. I'm kind of a geek about it. But anyways, I was really excited to get all of the community and economic development professionals in the county together once a month. Not only because, for me, obviously I'm newer to this, and several of us are newer to this, and I just thought it would be a really good opportunity to be able to bounce ideas off of each other. But then also, I don't see, you guys probably see Sherburne County a little different. I see Sherburne County as a whole. And there's a lot of benefit to be able to connect with your neighbors in terms of economic development. So the first meeting that we had was February 6th, and we did establish a couple things at that meeting. We established that we're going to be meeting in the boardroom directly after EDA, and discussions would be centered around joint efforts the county could assist in, such as marketing city properties, specific projects, BRNE visits, collaborative marketing efforts, eliminating disconnect and improving communications and connectivity. All economic and community development staff and the township clerks also received an email and were invited to that meeting. We had just a few for our February meeting. I think we're up to 10 or 11 folks for this meeting that's going to follow this one, so this is our second one. We established a goal that every BRE visit that's conducted by the county would include an invite to the respective city and hopefully vice versa. And I also made it clear to the folks in that room and to this room that this business retention and expansion vision of mine are coming from us. It's not an expectation, and that it's more of a partnership that would really just build this wonderful base of information for us so that we can better serve our community, and that as their time allows, that in their interest, with their EDA, that would be the gauging factor on their participation. Let's see, the meeting would end then with a roundtable discussion about any economic development projects that they wanted to talk about, events, educational opportunities, ideas or questions, problem solving amongst the group. So we'd be able to kind of share ideas and things like that. And then issues related to economic and community development. So we have a really heavy agenda at the meeting after this. I'm really gonna, 1 hour. Remind me every 5 minutes, 1 hour. And then the last thing I think that I wanted to touch on was the business lab usage. So I look back from when we started the business lab, which was October 27th of 2020. In that first year, the business lab had 64 coaching sessions and served 38 businesses and created 7 jobs. In the second year, there were 17 additional businesses served and created 32 additional jobs. And then we're about 6 months in to this year, this year of the business lab. And there's been 19 additional coaching sessions. So that says 4 came in after the report. I'm gonna say another 2 or 3 on top of that came in after the report. This last couple weeks have been just crazy with business lab coaching sessions. He knows, he's forwarding them to me all the time.
And you get a feedback from every session, and it's been nothing but positive. We haven't gotten a negative.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm fully expecting this to even ramp up more because this has been something that I talk about everywhere I go. I was just at the Becker Chamber meeting yesterday and I was talking about it there. And there's still so many people in businesses that don't know that this exists. So how are we getting the word out? As I mentioned, I present at the Business Lab at several Chamber of Commerce events. Biz-to-biz networking event. That was probably, I'm going to say, one of the most successful in terms of talking about the business lab. There was a lot of people. I did 2 of them this last week. And the one I was at, I'm going to say there were upwards of 40 business owners in that room, and only 1 knew about it. So I was very happy to be able to share about the business lab there. And I had a whole stack of flyers, and there wasn't any left when we were done. Serving as a chamber ambassador, I get to connect with all the new chamber businesses and share this resource with them. So when they come do their chamber ambassador visit, we're able to give them information or put information in their welcome bag, and the business lab information is included in that. I did attend one of the Sherburne County Association of Township meetings, and I did talk about the business lab there. And then I actually embarked on a tiny little mission, and I located all of the financial institutions within the county that provide commercial lending. And I called every one of them and let them know that I was coming. And then I put together a nice little letter and a packet with the Business Lab flyer, my card, and actually also a revolving loan fund. And I sectioned off, I did Zimmerman and our portion of Princeton one day, I did our Elk River, Big Lake the next week, and then I did Becker and up to St. Cloud. And so I've physically walked into every single financial institution that would let me in the door. And that was pretty fun. And then I have become pretty active on LinkedIn, so I post quite a bit of economic development things, and then also business lab content on the Sherburne County LinkedIn, which is my account, but Sherburne County has taken it over, which I'm fine with because I never used it before. Other special projects. So I did attend a business succession and transition training that actually Dan came with, and that was a pretty interesting thing. That was kind of a part 2 training, and then also facilitated the community partners meeting at the Sunken Ship. I think most of you were there. That was a pretty fun event. I'm on the Recharge Planning Committee meeting. Does anybody know what the Recharge Minnesota is? So they're bringing an electric vehicle event to the city of Elk River, and Brent and Josh are both also, and Dan are both all on that committee. Other ways to get the information out: ISD 728 Community Partners Planning. In terms of workforce development, I try to get involved with the schools and help with their mock job interviews. The community fair planning, and just, you see the list. I've really tried to make it a point to be out in the community and let people know that Sherburne has invested in full-time EDA, and really get involved in any way that I can. So that's my economic development. Any questions?
I just want to thank Jessica. Obviously, this is a new position, and she's going to be happy with the job she's done, and obviously she's bringing a lot of value to the county. That we were always involved in economic development, but we've really stepped it up these last 9 months.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's great. Okay, so now we're gonna finally iron out the strategic plan. I'm venturing to guess that you guys can't wait until there's an agenda where the strategic plan is not on it. Because we've got it done. Okay, so my idea behind this, there really isn't a great, graceful, quick way to go about a strategic plan, nor should there be. So Keisha's gonna scroll through the document, and then I have the same one on my computer, and I'm just gonna write the notes on my computer that we talk about in this room. So we have already gone through and ironed out our mission and vision statement. So we can move past that down to the economic development policies and objectives. Do you all have a copy? I have
Even I printed it, but I forgot to grab it off the printer.
a couple paper copies.
Great, thank you.
To the, you Ooh, yeah, okay. So a couple notes on this, the economic development policy and objectives. So when I envision this plan, I'm thinking that we're gonna have these overall objectives that no matter what the strategic planning year is, and what our areas of focus are gonna be, they will always tie back to one of these policy or objectives. When I'm looking at these and I look at objectives 3 and 4, I would kind of suggest that they're maybe one and the same or could fall under the same bucket, and I don't know that we need to have them listed separately. But what are thoughts on that, or thoughts on any of the other objectives? Not everybody all at once.
I agree, probably number 4, I think you could probably take that out. That would be my suggestion.
Maybe what you could do is just reword it a bit so it's more inclusive of the staff time. And just say distribute the county's economic development fund and resources in a strategic and successful manner.
And then I know last time, there was some talk about the property tax base, being rephrased to business base. Do we have thoughts on that? Is that something that we want to change throughout the document?
I don't know if, do we want to limit ourselves? I mean, if we can, encourage, housing as well, that adds to the tax base also, so.
The theory
I
was
don't know.
there was some thought that when people see that, that think we're trying to raise taxes was the thought
Well,
behind that change.
maybe expand the county's property tax base to help offset taxes or something of that nature. Maybe you just put an explanation at the end that its purpose is to help offset taxes. Because I hear what you're saying in that one, but
Yep.
And then I don't know, on number 6, I know we talked about we enhance the quality of life for all of, Sherburne County residents and retention or something like that, maybe, I don't know, we talked about that too.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Anything else on the objectives?
Just to debate a little bit on number 8.
Okay.
I would almost, I hear what we're saying about expanding the residential tax base, but that's a side effect, I think, of having a successful economic development program. So I'm almost wondering if it wouldn't, to your point, Dan, worrying about how that's interpreted, maybe if we said something about expanding the county's commercial tax base, something along those lines, it then, I think that sounds less like you're raising taxes and more like you're trying to expand the number of businesses, but that's just me.
And I do hear what you're saying, Andrew, but the whole thing goes along with if you don't have the housing to support the um, residents that become your workforce to help your businesses. I mean, it just kind of, to me, it all goes hand in hand.
And it does, and let's not get into the chicken and the egg debate here on which comes first, the housing or the business, the employees or the business, or the business or the employee, is probably not the time. Whatever you got, my personal opinion, property taxes are a fact of life. The residents of Sherburne County are pretty intelligent to understand what's going on. So however you guys are comfortable wording that, I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to really change the directive of this or the perception of this going forward. So, but, you can't sugarcoat property taxes, and if you're not intelligent enough to understand what a tax base is, then you should probably educate yourself, and I'm not here to do that for you, so.
What about something to the extent of expanding the county's business and housing base to ensure a stable tax base?
Diversify taxes. We'll come up with something, bring it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, going back to your first comment, if you ever want to talk about chicken and eggs.
Have an expert in the room.
Turn up a little bit, I'm getting witty. All right.
I want to know, why did they cross the road?
Okay, still rolling, Justin.
Okay, areas of focus. So we went round table and identified areas of focus, and then this went before the commissioners and they did some prioritizing. So this is gonna be the order of the strategic plan. So the first area of focus, business retention and expansion. And then I went and I just wrote a quick little paragraph on each one and how those tie back to our overall objectives, to explain, why it's important for the county to focus on those. And then in conversations and looking back at our previous strategic plan, I did pull forward and think of some new things, being out in the different various meetings and things, educations that I'm at, and put some things in here for you guys to mull over and decide if you want to keep in, throw out, modify. I'm seeing that I wrote 75 BRE visits a year. I was feeling very ambitious that day. So I'm wondering what the likelihood of 75 is, but what are the thoughts? So the idea here is when we're looking at business retention and expansion, what are some specific goals that we're gonna have towards that? And then what are the strategies that we're gonna need to accomplish those goals? I'm gonna suggest that we bump that number down a little for our first year.
What do you think's realistic?
I would, honestly, I think 72. I think 50 would be realistic. I mean, I think we've already got about almost 10 done just between Big Lake and a few other ones. Huh? Oh yeah, and Rock. Yeah, so I think we've got about 10 done. I think 50 would be reasonable.
If you do one a week, and then you gotta do holidays or things in there, but.
Mhm.
Quarter's almost done and you've got 10, just look at that with your workload, right? So is
Yeah.
it 40? I mean, just.
Right. I'm hoping that, we get this software up and running, it'll make things quite a bit more efficient. I've been hesitating on getting too many logged and then don't even have our software yet. Okay, I'll just go through the goals. Developing a deep understanding of what drives private and enterprise investment decisions. So that would be information that we could gather through our BRE visits, develop an action plan to ensure Sherburne County is competitive compared to its peers. And then quarterly meetings with city, county, and community economic development staff, which we've already started those. Any thoughts on those, changes, feedback? Or if they're good, we'll move on and that's what the strategic plan's gonna look like. Yeah? keep going. All right, next area of focus is workforce, and what does that look like from the EDA in terms of supporting or developing the workforce? Obviously, we know it's a pretty big issue. The one thing that I thought of and just put on there was to support development and training initiatives across the county. In my world, what I've been doing is getting involved with those higher education institutes, going to their open houses, and when they, like the St. Cloud Tech College is opening up an advanced manufacturing lab, going there and learning about it so I'm able to communicate at my ISD 728 community partners meetings or even at business retention and expansion visits. I know that particular thing has come up at several BR&E visits when I have manufacturers telling me that they're looking for workforce but they need some sort of training, and I'm able to tell them, did you know St. Cloud Tech has an advanced manufacturing lab that they're building? There may be a partnership there. So I think those types of visits are important. And then also to serve as a conduit of information. Which is again kind of in the same vein there, but if the EDA wants to take an additional approach or you have another idea to support workforce in any capacity, whether it's development or pipeline creation, this is the time to throw it out there.
Jessica?
Yep.
I know that you're talking about, going to the trade schools and stuff.
Yep.
I'd like to see us really work as well on creating that pipeline through the schools. Quite a few of our schools have already started that effort, but it might not always be known to the businesses. Because I think that is, really important as to how we're going to get that next workforce is starting at the school, at the school level before they get to that secondary phase.
Yep.
Jared, have you worked with the school district?
We have, yep. We've done more work with that, and I was actually gonna make a comment as well too, is that, again, one of our biggest challenges is finding those folks from the trade schools as well too, our mechanics, electricians, plumbers, et cetera. So that's, I was glad to hear the focus on the trades as well too.
Definitely.
And ironically, I was at another board I sit on at another strategic planning last night where this was also up, and this doesn't make me the most popular guy in the room, which really bothers me, but the reality is that I brought forth was, this is, so try to understand, this is very important stuff for everybody, okay? The labor force, it's affecting everybody. And in our industry, it's been affecting us for 20 years, so it's nothing new to us. But at some point, you have to face reality and realize that you're fighting a numbers game where there's not the bodies out there, okay? Because we start with the same discussion. Well, what more can we do to attract employees, retain employees? We're just regurgitating stuff that we've been talking about for 3 years, and there's major companies that are throwing millions at this and they can't solve it. So my only comment on this is very important, and I still think it deserves focus, ideas. We don't know when that next idea and all these things are implemented. However, I think some of the energy that's devoted to a game that we can't really win because the bodies just aren't there. That's my conclusion. There just aren't enough available workers out there to facilitate what Cargill needs and Kendrew Construction needs. They're not there. So to stay with that, but to shift some of the energy, time, and focus onto some of the other areas in the strategic plan that are actionable items can produce results. So I'm not saying this isn't important, it's vitally important, but it's almost getting to the point where we're talking about it to make ourselves feel good and that we're addressing something without really looking at, can we accomplish something here that has not been done in 5 years? I probably didn't explain that real well, but it's great that it's on the plan, but there again, if Jessica's time and we can produce results with housing goals with planning and zoning to create more available lots to get people in here, okay, that may increase the available workforce, then we accomplish this by focusing on something we can actually control instead of trying to put together programs for people that aren't there.
Yep, I understand what you're saying. And your logic behind it makes a lot of sense. I totally agree with that. I do think there is value, like, when I think about investing my time, and I can give you a prime example. I was doing a BRNE visit, and they wanted to specifically hire veterans, but they didn't know how to go about targeting veterans for employment. And so I reached out to Magnus, that this company didn't know Magnus existed, and just from the role that I have, and I have a very, very broad view, I'm not limited to, just my business. I was able to facilitate a meeting between the two, and as part of Magnus's 5-step program that they have, the very last one is social involvement and, getting back to work in the community. And so they paired together in their meeting to create that pipeline straight from Magnus to that employer for veterans. So it's things like that that you don't always, when you're strategic planning, you don't think, oh, I'm going to create a workforce pipeline for veterans. But when you're out doing some of these things, those are the types of ideas that pop up and opportunities that present themselves. But I agree, should it be the primary focus of my time? No, but to some degree, I'd like to see it in there.
Oh, absolutely. There's spin-off effects just in the networking and stuff, and if you get one win like that, that's great. But there again, to think that we're gonna develop a new system that, what's your marketing budget for attracting employees at Cargill? Tens of millions of dollars throughout the company,
Well, it depends on, if you're talking Cargill overall, but I can tell you just even Big Lake alone, last year spent $75,000 to $95,000 on just
so
marketing.
staff and effort, and that's just an example, but multiply that times all the companies that are putting the time and effort into this. So that's all I'm saying. It is vitally important, and I'm not saying don't do it, but if we can produce action, results on, say, a housing end, working with Mark and things like that, that may bring more people into the industry, maybe that's how we go about the labor shortage in a real effect. That's all I have.
One thing I would,
We're cognizant of everybody's time. Do we want to keep going or bring this back at the next meeting?
Well,
They
do you
have another
guests?
meeting?
We do, they have another meeting right at 9:30. So
Do you have guests coming in at 9:30?
I do have one suggestion on this piece though, Jessica,
Yeah.
is on the business lab. And I don't know whether it already exists in the business lab or not, but employee retention is extremely expensive. You're right, turnover is expensive. You've gone from 10% turnover to 30%. If there's something we can do around the business lab on helping some of these businesses around techniques around employee retention, that might be something that is actionable that we could do to help alleviate some of this. If we
I
can,
think that's a great idea. They do like monthly roundtable discussions and workshops.
Yeah.
And I would definitely throw that to them as a idea for one of their, or several. They could even do a series. That's a great
And we
idea.
could really help market that too.
Yeah.
the other one that you brought up, I do think military recruiting could be something that we could help with because most companies don't know how to do it. And there's very specific ways to do it well.
Okay.
Well, yeah, in light of the fact that Jessica's got important dignitaries coming into the meeting, some that are already here, I guess I'd make a motion to carry this into our next meeting and to adjourn.
Second.
I don't know that we need a motion. We can just do that. You're the chair,
I
Ken.
thought he was ending the meeting.
I think we do need a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.